it is competitive going into the final day.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, do you take phone calls on your radio program?
Well, I sure do every day.
And what are you hearing from people as primary concerns about the attitude they have to the nature of this race? What do you hear?
Well, I think there's a lot of concern over the negativity. I frankly think that the number one issue the Republicans would have is, if Albany's going to be run by three men in a room, do you want all three men living south of Yankee Stadium? And I think that's the issue that they haven't driven home up here. They've been talking about gay marriage and driver's licenses and windmills and some what I think are peripheral issues, and I think they've missed an opportunity to zero in on what probably is their number one issue. On the Albertine side, obviously they want to run a campaign that says don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain, meaning the governor. They want to stress, I think, Albertine's likability and the fact that he's got a little more common roots and not quite a patrician background.
Which is, of course, another reason this race is so extraordinarily interesting from a political junkie perspective, because it's sort of a testing ground for all of these things, including the popularity of the governor and Joe Bruno. Got to get your reaction to a piece of news I mentioned earlier in the program tonight, this idea that the Court of Appeals has ruled unanimously that Republican Will Barclay will now occupy the independent line on the ballot in all three counties in the 48th District, thereby reversing a decision that had been decidedly good for Darrell Albertine until today. How significant a development is that?
Well, up until today, I think the judges had ruled the line would be blank, and indeed it was on the absentees. I chose to divorce myself from that selection process prior to Christmas for a variety of reasons, so I'm not intimate with the details of what the court was considering, but you know, obviously we accept the result of the judicial system, and the election will be held and he'll be on line C. I think obviously that's a plus for Mr. Barclay in terms of the election and so on, but I think most people go into the voting booth tomorrow you know, choosing between Albertine and Barclay because there are no other races on the ballot. So I'm not sure the party lines mean quite what they do in a general election.
So despite the fact that there are 8,000 independent voters, you don't think that they're going to go in and vote for whomever is on the independent line?
Well, no, because there's 77,000 Republicans, and if they all voted on the Republican line, we wouldn't need to have this discussion.
Final couple of questions in our remaining time. First of all, what do you think about turnout tomorrow? We've tried to give the sense that, look, turnout in special elections is always low. This one, though, attention is high. A lot of people interested in it. The weather could be a factor. What's your sense of the level of interest there?
Well, I think everybody's talking about it. Everywhere you go, they're talking about it. They're just saying mostly, I wish it were over. But I think turnout in the northern half of the district may be a little higher because there's more media intensity up here, whereas in Oswego County, this is just one piece of what's happening in the greater Syracuse area. So the big question will be in those northern suburbs of Syracuse around Fulton to Constantia and that area, will they turn out at the levels they would in a general election versus what the North Country part of the district does? And of course, weather plays a little bit of a factor, but I think it's supposed to be universally bad tomorrow across the district, so I don't think it'll be a big factor.
In fact, all across the state, literally seconds remaining. We set you up tonight by playing a clip from your radio program in which you gave us, I think, a animated view of how things are. Can you really give us the sense as to what sort of circus atmosphere it is like up there?
Well, today on every street corner you saw people holding signs and people are going to houses. You know, I'm just advising my constituents to, you know, go home, lock your door, and ignore it all and just go out and vote tomorrow.
But at least not to, yes, you're right, don't stay inside, get out and vote. It is critically important for the entirety of the state. Hey, Mayor Jeffrey Graham, much appreciated your time tonight. Interesting perspective.
Thank you, Brian.
Hope to have you back. Mayor Jeffrey Graham of Watertown tonight.